How y'all doing? We are back. We are ready for y'all tonight. It's Sheltered In with the Knightons, My Relationship Movement, Unfiltered Conversations, Open Mic Night. We're going to send y'all, I'm going to go over some questions that y'all sent us tonight. Listen, we got some good questions that were sent in, and I need to know right now, before I go, that y'all getting on this line. Let's get it.
It is open mic night. Questions you got, we got answers. So bring them on because we're not scared. We're going to we're going to answer your relationship questions tonight. Okay.
All right, we're going to get
y'all
started.
Ready?
I got my juice ready. Now I'm ready. Let me fade it out.
All right. Thank you, DJ. Appreciate that. Sheltered In with the Knightons, and we welcome you literally into our home for 60 minutes where we share our, not expertise, but experience with you, and we keep it real, raw, and relevant.
What are you doing?
We keep it real, raw, and relevant with truth and transparency. We just wanted to see what y'all got going on. So y'all have sent us some questions. Like, for real. Y'all have sent us some questions.
We are in for a good conversation tonight. These are questions that you had, and we're going to try to answer them. We're going to do our best. We're not experts. I want to say that up front. We are not experts. I don't even know if anybody's an expert in any area.
Right.
But we are experienced. And so we want to put that out there. We are not experts. We're simply experienced, and we're glad to have y'all on here.
So I'm going to share first with some of the questions that were sent to us. But in the meantime, if you've got a question or if our conversation sparks a question for you, make sure you put it in the chat. Good enough?
Good enough. Let's go.
All right, let's go. Here's the first question. And I tell y'all got some doozies out there. What y'all got going on?
Yes.
All right, here we go. My anger keeps getting the best of me in my relationships. What's wrong with me?
My anger keeps getting the best of me in relationships. What's wrong
with me?
I'll let the therapist answer that one.
So first of all, there is nothing wrong with you. So let's take that out of our thought process. Let's put another tape in its place, because if you keep playing that tape, what's wrong with me? Yeah, that's a negative tape. So first of all, we need to replace that language. There is nothing wrong with you. So anger keeps showing up in your relationship. So anger is simply a byproduct emotion. Okay, so let's think about it that way. Anger has one purpose and one purpose only. We could say it has two, but technically it really has one. Anger's purpose is to protect. Okay, so we protect ourselves by numbing. That's why some people will say anger has two purposes, to protect and to numb. But if you're numbing yourself, you're protecting yourself. Does that make sense? Okay. So anger has one job and one job only, and that's to protect, okay? Who wants to get close to somebody who's always angry, right? So anger pushes people away because it protects you. So the fact that anger keeps showing up would suggest that there are other emotions that are out there that you experience, but because you don't have the language or the capacity to regulate or manage those emotions under the surface, such as fear, distrust, such as shame or guilt, such as sadness. So those types of emotions, because you don't regulate those emotions well, because you don't have the language for those emotions well, what ends up happening is that, hey, anger, the catch-all, be-all emotion shows up. And so if you think of anger as an iceberg, anger is the tip of the iceberg that we see above the surface. Okay? All of the other emotions I mentioned are underneath the surface.
Okay.
So because we don't have the language or the ability to regulate those emotions or to talk about those emotions or engage those emotions at a level that makes us comfortable, those emotions stay below the surface, and the one emotion that we see above the surface is the anger. And so because anger's only job is to protect, people run from you. So that's why anger keeps showing up in your relationship, is because you haven't allowed yourself to navigate those other emotions and to learn how to manage and regulate those other emotions. And so anger's doing its job. Anger's job is to protect, and it's doing its job. So what I would suggest for the person who wrote that is to find a good therapist, because a good therapist will help you, number one, dig deep into the underneath the surface to find out why those emotions are the way they are and why you're so afraid to share those emotions. What's happened? It could be a trauma, or it could be like we've talked about with our guys here at age 4, because I don't know if this was written by a guy or girl, but at age 4 or 5, remember we said that boys are not allowed to share their emotions after that. So it could be a guy writing this question because at 4 or 5, he wasn't allowed to share his emotions. And so now that he's an adult, the only emotion that was appropriate for the guy is anger. Does that make sense? So that would be the answer that I have to that question. You want to
can we go a little further? No,
Okay.
I'm not going to add anything, but I want to add another part of that question.
Okay.
Another question, rather, to that. So would you say that a person who says that anger keeps getting the best of them, basically what they're saying, would you say that stems from something that they have not dealt with as it relates to an earlier trauma or something that triggers them to allow that anger to keep showing up? I guess that's what I'm
Sure. Yeah. So there are other things that are going in the relationship that's causing that would be triggers for this person. And so what this person probably has not done is dealt with the triggers. The triggers means there's a trauma somewhere, and so we just haven't dealt with that. And not necessarily a big T trauma. So a lot of times when people think, oh, well, I hadn't experienced a trauma, because they're thinking of big T traumas. Big T traumas would be like a car accident, or a big T trauma could be a weather event that took your house out when you were a child. Another big T trauma could be physical abuse, emotional abuse, or child abuse. Those would be what we call big T traumas. But then we've got some little T traumas, and little T traumas could simply mean that your parents got a divorce when you were a child.
Okay.
That's a little T trauma. A little T trauma could be that when you were 5, y'all moved from your favorite house in New York down to Georgia, and it was hard for you to make friends. That's a little T trauma. Another little T trauma could be when you were in school that you were bullied. Some people, that T could actually be both ways. That could be a big T and a little T. But there could be a series of little T traumas that happen. And remember, a whole bunch of little stuff could eventually lead up to some big stuff. So to answer your question, absolutely.
So let me ask another question as it relates to that. And these questions just popping up. So as it relates to relationships, so again, most of us have experienced some type of trauma or some type of dysfunction coming up. And I think that while we're on this question, I think it's also good for us, or for you rather, being a therapist and a counselor, to sort of even elaborate a little bit more on how traumas that have been unattended can affect relationships, affect healthy relationships, such as rejection. And that's one of the things that I'm seeing.
And we
lately.
Actually got a question about rejection.
Do we?
A young lady sent a question in. How can my childhood issues really affect my adulthood relationship?
Okay, so let's deal with that one.
Yep.
So
Okay.
ask that again so they hear it.
Okay. So another young lady sent a question and her question is, can my childhood issues really affect my adulthood relationships? And the answer to that is yes. And yes. When 2 or 3 years from now, you start having some doubts about if this love will last.
And the answer is what?
The answer is yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So, here we go. Can childhood issues really affect my adulthood relationship? And the answer to that is yes, it can. So, here's what happens in childhood. Childhood, when you think about how trauma affects the brain, okay, we have learned that, number one, trauma is not housed here. Trauma is housed here. And here's what I mean by this. When you were in your mother's womb, the first thing that forms in your body is your spinal cord, because everything in your body is attached to that spinal cord. So that's the first thing we see when we see a baby developing in its mother's womb is the spinal cord.
You hear that, Patricia?
So as the spinal cord develops down our back, right? The next thing that develops is our brain stem.
I'm sorry.
And then after that, you have what we call the reptilian brain. So the brain is divided up into different sections. You have the reptilian brain, and then you have the limbic system, and then you have the frontal cortex. That's how your brain develops here. Okay?
Oh, you smart.
So the last thing that develops is your frontal cortex. And so when we think of the reptilian brain is simply the part of the brain that keeps us alive. It's what keeps our eyes blinking. The water in our eyes regulates our liquids throughout our bodies, such as our blood, keeps our temperature regulated, keeps our heart beating. That's the reptilian brain. Also in that reptilian brain, the oldest part of the brain, that part of the brain also regulates our fight, flight, or freeze response.
Fight, flight, or freeze. Okay. Okay.
Fight, flight, or freeze. So when you think about the brain, this part of the brain only has one job and one job only, and that's to keep you alive. Period. It only has one question to ask. Is the human organism in danger? Period. It ain't got to worry about, do I have the right shoes on to run? Do I look good today? How do I smell today? That reptilian part of your brain is not even concerned about that. It only has one job only, and that one job is to keep you alive. So when we think about childhood traumas and childhood issues and how they keep showing up in our relationship, here's the answer to that question. Your amygdala gets hijacked when there's a trigger. And so when the amygdala hijacks this, which is your frontal cortex, which handles all of your logic, your executive functioning skills, your organization, your time management, that's a part of the brain. Remember, I told y'all in a previous episode that women's brains are fully developed at 25. Men's brains are fully developed at 27 or 28. Okay, so we got a few years on that. But that's the part of the brain that does all of that logical thinking. Huh?
What you trying to say?
I'm just saying, women's brains develop at 25. Men's brains develop at 27.
Which means our brains are more mature.
No, which means that our brains
see how quick I think? Our brains are more mature.
No, they're not. No.
27?
Right. We fully develop at 25. We got 2 years on y'all.
No, you're missing the point. It means that my brain is more mature because it took me a little longer to get there.
It actually means the opposite.
Okay, keep talking.
Anyway, so when we think about trauma is not housed here. Trauma is housed here because trauma has to deal with our amygdala and whether or not we fight, flight, or freeze in different things. So when you think people go, oh, why is she acting like that? And somebody says it's because of her childhood. When her amygdala causes a hijack, she's no longer thinking here. She's back here trying to determine whether or not she's in danger. So think of being in a relationship. So let's take this. Let me give you a scenario.
This is good.
If you were a child and your mom and dad or your mom's boyfriends or whatever were constantly physically fighting, screaming, hollering, carrying on, you come home and there was all kind of dysfunction going on. Okay, so when it was time for you to get off the school bus and walk to your house, here's the questions that were probably playing in your head. Is my mama going to have blood on her face when I walk in the door?
Wow.
Am I going to walk into my mom and my daddy or my mom and her boyfriend fighting each other? Am I going to have to pull him off of her? Is my mama going to have a black eye? What's going to be on the floor? All of those thoughts are coming into your brain as you're getting off the school bus, walking to your house. Stay with me in this scenario. So, as you turn the knob to the door, flight, fight, or freeze kicks in. This is not working anymore. This is the part of the brain that has shut down because it's not needed. Time management is not needed. Organizational skills are not needed. Whether or not you know how to tie your shoe, all of that's housed here. That's not needed. What's needed right here? Fight, flight, or freeze. What am I about to walk into? Am I in danger? So trauma is housed in the back part of your brain. So let's fast forward to your relationships. You get into an argument with your boyfriend.
Wow.
Or your boyfriend starts raising his voice at you or start beating you. You're not here anymore. You're here. Wow. You're getting flashbacks, not from somebody beating you, but from your mom being beat, from your dad beating on your mom and not knowing what kind of house you walking into. This is gone. This is no longer working. That's why it's called an amygdala hijack. This is shut down because it's not needed. Back here is what's working. Fight, flight, or freeze. What have I got to do? Have I got to run from the house and call 911, go get a neighbor? Or am I have to go pull this man off my mama? That's what's happening in the relationships. So now we're in an adult relationship and the boyfriend is tripping and he causing all kind of issues. You're no longer thinking here going, oh, I'm a 40-something-year-old woman having these issues with my boyfriend. No, you a 10-year-old and having to walk back into the house now and you don't know what's going on. So that's what we call the amygdala hijack. So the answer to that question is yes. Childhood issues can show up in adult relationships, and when they're not dealt with, guess who's showing up in the relationships?
The 10-year-old?
It's the 10-year-old kid, not the 40-something-year-old adult. The kid will always win until you put the kid in check. So when you get into a disagreement as an adult,
this is good.
The 10-year-old kid shows up. The 10-year-old kid who's ready to fight it out shows up. The 10-year-old kid who's ready to run to the closet and hide themselves shows up. The 10-year-old kid who shuts down because they just don't know what to do, that person shows up, not the 40-something-year-old adult.
Wow.
So the answer to that question is yes.
Can I ask another one? I feel like I'm in a counseling session, therapy session. This is really helpful. Usually we have, come from a different angle, but tonight is very, very helpful. Well, all of them are very helpful, but I think this is really helping more people. And I want to actually ask another question. So when you start talking about people who have dealt with trauma, such as seeing their parents fight, or what about a person that's been molested, or a person that's been rejected? It's all the same?
It's all the same. Okay. All trauma is housed here. Whether it's rejection, abandonment, molestation, if it was a trauma, it's going to be housed here. So what ends up happening in these relationships is we find people who are manipulative because they want to manipulate the outcome so they can make sure that they can handle what's going on in the relationship. So we said earlier episodes, if you grew up in dysfunction, please raise your hand. All right. So the fact that you grew up in dysfunction says that we all have experienced some type of trauma. Gotcha. If you have experienced a trauma in your life, please raise your hand. Okay. So we've all done it, but we have not all gotten the help that we need to overcome the trauma. So the question is, can you overcome your childhood issues to have productive and refreshing and healthy relationships that nourish you and bring out the best in you, that cause you to want to be the best version of you? Absolutely.
And
because
the answer is yes.
2 or 3 years. Okay. So the answer is yes. You can absolutely make that happen.
How?
Therapy. And stop acting like it didn't happen. Because the more you act like it didn't happen, the more you're suppressing it, and the worse the triggers are going to be, and the worse the reactions are going to be.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
Ooh, and that was just one question.
Yeah, one question. That was 2.
Well, it was actually 3. Because we did
three.
We did that. Okay.
3 questions. That was good.
Whew. Okay.
Did y'all like that? If y'all like that, show her some love. She just gave y'all a counseling session
for free. All right, here we go. Here's the next question. My husband and I seem like we're on 2 different pages. Okay? We cannot seem to communicate. My husband and I seem like we're on 2 different pages, and we just can't communicate. What are some suggestions to help us? That's a great question. So,
go ahead.
Here's the deal. When it comes to communication, I always ask this question. When we do marriage counseling and when I do individual counseling, because this is really, really, really important.
I need y'all to share this, because these are some very, very important questions and some good information that we're throwing out to you guys tonight.
All right. So here's the question that we always ask in our counseling sessions. What are your wants, your needs, your expectations, and your non-negotiables? What are your wants, your needs, your expectations, and your non-negotiables? And I recently heard these terms on another broadcast somewhere. And so this is one of the things that no matter who I'm counseling, if we're doing couples counseling, if we're doing individual counseling, because these are the foundational pillars of who you are. Until you know these 4 things about yourself, you will not be able to show up in a relationship the way you want to. So the question was, my husband and I seem like we're on 2 different pages. We cannot seem to communicate. What are some suggestions to help us? The first suggestion I would have is that you sit down for yourself and figure out what your wants, needs, expectations, and non-negotiables are. And I feel like I got to sneeze. That's why it sounded kind of crazy. What are your wants, needs, expectations, and non-negotiables for yourself? Here's why this is important. Okay? Until you know those 4 things about yourself, you cannot express those things to someone else. Okay? So, part of the reason why it feels like the 2 of you are not really communicating is because you haven't been able to express those 4 things about yourself to the other person. So the other person can't meet your needs. The other person doesn't understand your wants. The other person doesn't even know your expectations or your non-negotiables. So they keep doing what they've always done, thinking it's okay because you haven't expressed to them what those 4 things are. And I heard you in the spirit, sis. Yes, I have. At what pitch?
Ooh.
In your voice.
I like that.
At what pitch? At what pitch and at what time did you explain those 4 pillars?
Wow.
Because if you're doing it in the midst of an argument, you're going to sound like Charlie Brown's teacher to him. Wah, 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 wah. He ain't listening. He's shut down. And if you at 5 octaves higher than what you would normally have a conversation with him, listen, he ain't listening in either, sis. So having that discussion in the midst of an argument doesn't count. Okay? These are conversations that you've got to have with each other while dating. And we've discussed that. We've discussed early on, how do you get to the point to where we can transition from dating to being exclusive? And part of that is knowing those questions that you need to ask while you date with a purpose. And so knowing those wants, needs, expectations, and non-negotiables about yourself first. Don't expect him to do everything in the very beginning, because you don't even know what those things are about yourself first. Your wants, needs, and expectations change as you change. What you wanted at 18 and at 25 is not what you want at 50.
Right.
Okay? So you've got to know these things about yourself first. And then at the same time, what are those 4 pillars for him? And then once you know what those 4 pillars are for each other, then you have a conversation about what these 4 pillars look like in our relationship. Okay? Because remember, they changed. Lawrence and I have been together 20 years. We've been married 18.
19.
19. Well, it ain't
right.
Okay, 19. So what he wanted when we first got married is not what he wants now. And I've got to know that about him.
Okay.
And I know that about him because we're having constant conversations about his wants, needs, and expectations. Now, we're not sitting down going, okay, baby, what are your expectations? But we're having constant dialogue about our relationship and about ourselves. It's called Friday Night Date Night. And when those exchanges happen, I'm learning more about what he needs as a 61-year-old man.
I'm 31, girl. Stop playing.
Stop playing. Does that make sense? So when it comes to that communication, remember we said in previous episodes that communication is like a dance. It's an exchange of information. It's an exchange of information. So I can't treat him like the same Lawrence Knighton I did know when we first got married, because that Lawrence Knighton doesn't exist anymore. This Lawrence Knighton is more mature. This Lawrence Knighton is more settled. This Lawrence Knighton likes to have fun.
I said I'm more sexy too.
Okay. Did y'all get that? Okay. This Lawrence Knighton has the expectation of visiting 2 and 3 countries per year, except for last year and this year. But knowing that about him helps us to exchange communication. He knows, like for me, he knows on some days when I come home and I'm totally dragging, he knows to put me in the bed and to give me some food and just let me go to sleep. He knows that. And so he knows that because of the dialogue and exchange that we've had with each other over all of these years.
Can y'all tell she's been missing for 2 weeks? I can't get her to stop.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
I'm just being silly. This is great information. That's why I needed her the last 2 weeks. But since she's been missing the last 2 weeks, I told her, just take over. Just take over tonight? Just take over.
Okay. All right. So here's another question that y'all sent in. Like, y'all been off the chain. Like, for 2 weeks. I can't let y'all go 2 weeks no more without me. I'm just saying. Here's another question. How do you really know when someone is genuine? When all you seem to attract are imposters and immature men?
That's a good question sent in a while back, but I found it.
Did y'all get that?
Say it one more time.
How do you really know when someone is genuine? When all you seem to attract are imposters and immature men.
You got it.
Okay. So, I'm going to deal with one part. I'm going to let you deal with the other.
All right. That's worse for me.
I'm going to deal with you first. Whoever sent this in. Okay. Then I'm going to let him deal with the attraction part. Okay. So, what is it about you that seems to attract these types of people? We've said in previous episodes that desperation has a stench. It has a smell. Like walking into your house with some trash that you know you probably should have taken out days ago. But one day you walk into the house and it meets you at the door. Okay? Desperation smells also. So what is it about you that you haven't dealt with, that you haven't really looked in the mirror and said to yourself, man, number one, here are characteristics that I didn't like about him. But I still dated him. I still engaged with him. I still gave him time, the luxury that you don't get back. Wasted time is a luxury you don't get back. What is it about him that I allowed myself, because you are in charge of you.
That's it.
That I allowed myself to be in a relationship with someone that I recognized, not checked off all of my boxes, but I recognized early on that there was a pink flag, a red flag, or a flag on fire, and I kept going. What is it about you that you haven't spent time with yourself enough to know that when an imposter or immature man shows up, all you got to do is cross the street and keep going. You ain't got to entertain that.
Wow.
All right, so now I'm about to turn it over to the attraction part.
The attraction?
Yep. How do you really know when someone is genuine?
Well, I mean, I in this day and age, in all honesty, it's very hard to determine whether a person is really genuine. It really is. I mean, let's just be honest about it. But I think one of the things that we always need to remember is that very, very rarely does the real person show up day one in any relationship. Mm-hmm. Most times, as I wrote in my book, we always send the representative, meaning we always send the person that we want them to think we are. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that, we never from day one tell a person, hey, I'm narcissistic, hey, I'm a manipulator.
Right.
Those behaviors come out afterwards. Yeah, I got mama issues.
I got daddy issues.
We don't just jump into a relationship saying, hey, I'm crazy as all outdoors.
Right.
Hey, listen, I'm very insecure. Hey, I'm very jealous.
We don't have a W on our forehead.
We don't have
warning.
Exactly. So we don't actually come to the relationship meeting people just throwing it all on the table like that. We're sitting there trying to present our best self. Mm-hmm. And so I think to answer the question, as it relates to the question that was raised,
yep.
One of the things, how do we know? We have to be able to, as we talked about the other week, dating simply means getting data. And I think too many times we're spending time trying to, especially women are trying to spend time saying, is he going to be there for me always, or is he going to be my man? So women are always down the street talking about this my man,
right.
When a man is trying to figure out, do I really want her to be my woman?
Right.
And if I can put it to you another way, I think what we have to do is slow our roll to really see who the person is, to get a feel for who the person is, stay out of the bed till you figure out what the heck y'all doing. What? Did I say that? Yeah. Because what ends up happening is you put all of these great things out front and it's nice and it's lovely. Oh man, we got the chemistry. And then you mess around and jump in the bed, and then a few months later you tell me, well, why he go ghost on me? Or why she acting funny now? Because, women can be just as trifling as men.
Sure enough.
And so I think that what has to happen, what has to happen is you have to first value yourself,
right.
Man or woman. You have to value who you are first. You have to know what you want. You have to be able to, because what ends up happening is we always overlook those little red flags. She calls them flags on fire, but red flags in a person. Like, so initially, like, okay, now they drink too much, or they cuss too much, or whatever it might be. And so those little
verbally
things,
abusive to their mama.
Yeah, those little things we overlook, and those are the very things that come back to haunt us. So to answer the question, how do you really know? I would say to really just take your time and listen, leave sex out of the equation until you really discover who the person really is.
Yep.
Ask those questions that we talked about the last couple of weeks.
And we said no sex because it's all chemical. So go back and watch one of those
it's
episodes.
All chemical.
It's all chemical.
Deal with that real quick.
Yeah. So when you have sex with someone, ladies, remember we talked about the different chemicals that are released in your brain, the oxytocin, the various chemicals that are released in our brains. Remember, ladies, we are emotional creatures. So once we have sex, we attach. It's the same chemical that's released when you have a baby that allows you to bond with your baby. It's the same chemical that's released when you have sex with men. So that's why women attach themselves so quickly to a man after having sex, because it's all chemical. So it's all biological. So that's why it's so important to not have the sex, to wait and to see what's really going on in the relationship. Because once that's released, men start thinking with a different head. Ooh. And ladies, you start allowing the chemicals to take over, and it's almost like being intoxicated or under the influence of various drugs. It's just that strong. Oxytocin, the dopamine, and all those chemicals. So we did a whole session on that. Okay, so go back and watch that.
And one of the other sessions that you may want to go look at, ladies, those of you who are on here for the first and second time, we did a session a few months ago. It's actually the title of my next book. It's called, go back and watch the video, Until He Walks You Down the Aisle, He's Not Your Man, It's Just Your Turn.
Boom.
Let me say that again. Until a man walks you down the aisle, he is not your man, it's just your turn.
Did y'all get that? Okay. Just checking.
That's my next book. It's going to be out by, speaking in the atmosphere, by October.
See, we got any questions before we go with these ones that
I haven't
people?
seen any questions. Unless
Okay.
you got them in the inbox, I'm not able to go look at that.
All right. So here's another question that was sent to us. Are we doing okay? Because we just like going through
okay?
I just want to check. Okay.
Show us a little love if we're doing okay.
Are we doing okay?
We're answering your questions. Hopefully we're answering them okay,
Okay.
We're not experts now. We're just experienced.
That's it. And we just want to share our experience.
It's not to say y'all going to agree with everything we say.
And that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. Because we don't agree on everything. But, Okay. All right. Just checking. I see some hearts going. So I just want to make sure y'all still breathing. It's okay. Just... Okay. Yeah. All right. Here's another one. In today's time, why does it seem harder for men to commit? Ooh. In today's time, why does it seem harder for men to commit? And I'm going to let the man answer that one.
Ooh, I'm scared to answer that one. In today's time, why does it seem so hard for a man to commit? That's a great question. And I think the only way to answer that question is a lot of times, just like with anything, if a man has been sort of single for a long time, he wants to make sure that when he commits, that it's the one that he feels is going to be there for life for him. He wants to make sure that that's going to be the one that he can be vulnerable with. He wants to make sure that that's the one that that's going to be the one that has his back, his front, his side, everything else. Okay. Because most times we are at a point now that if we're going to commit, we have to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we can trust that person. We have to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we can put our all into that person. We have to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we can build with that person. And what ends up happening is that through the past years, a lot of times women have made things so easy for men. Did I say that? Let me keep that comment going. So many times women have made things so easy for men that even the flip side of that is they feel like they don't have to commit now because it's so easy to get access to other women when you say no.
There you go. They don't have to work hard. That's why it's so hard for men to commit, because they ain't got to work hard.
So when a man gets ready to commit, he wants to make sure he has all those elements in place. But at the same time, ladies, listen to me now. Listen, Linda. I ain't said that in a long time. Listen to me, Linda. The reason why men have a hard time, the reason why a lot of men don't commit now is because women have made things a lot easier for us, and we feel like, what's the sense? We can
go get
this
easy access. You go get, because some women are, remember I said desperation has a stench? Okay. So as long as there are other women out there who make things easy for men, then a man doesn't have to put forth the effort to get what he wants.
Listen.
Because it's open down the street.
I didn't say this part, but I want to thank my brother who's on here, Marcus Clark. He is helping me to solidify what I just said. Okay. I'm going to read his comment. He's a brother.
All right.
Listen at this now.
Come on, Marcus.
Thank you, Marcus. Man, I appreciate you. I promise you I do. I don't know you, but I appreciate you. Marcus says, men have too many options, and there's a lot of thirsty women.
Ooh, Marcus.
I ain't say it, but Marcus, I agree with it.
I'm going to do this early. Marcus, DM him or email him or get in touch with him with your address, because you're going to get a book tonight. I'm just going to tell you that now.
That's the real deal. Men have too many options, and women, what? Are too thirsty.
Thirsty. Y'all thirsty?
I think I need to drink to that. You thirsty thing, you.
So, ladies, this doesn't
I'm
mean...
thirsty.
Ladies, this doesn't mean that you have to lower your standards, because here's the thing. Women always say there's no good men out there, but the truth of the matter is you wouldn't... Let me see how I could put it. Like my grandma used to say, if you lie down with dogs, you're bound to get fleas. And here's what I mean by that. If you lower your standards to get what you want, you might end up getting really more than what you bargained for. Okay? So some women say, well, I'm just good with just a piece of a man than a whole man. I'm just lonely. Well, are you ready to are you ready to deal with everything that comes with lowering your expectations and taking yourself out of who you really are just for a piece of a man that's still poking other women? I'm just saying. That's the part of you that's lonely? A piece of a man that's poking other women, that's what you really want to deal with? I'm just asking the question. So until you really know who you are and know what you stand for, it might be best that you don't put yourself out there to be dating. I'm just being honest. Because men smell desperation. Men love to hunt. And men will put you on a hook and keep you on a hook and play with you until you get tired and then throw you back in the water and move on to the next fish. Because that's really all you are to them sometimes.
So listen, I was talking to my daughter the other day, and so I think this is a good time to throw this in, right? So I was talking to my daughter the other day, and I'm going on Brother Marcus's comment about a lot of thirsty women.
Thirsty. So
Rachel Swan and those who are in my age group, y'all will understand this. Back in the day, they had Wonder Bread and all these different
white what was it? Sunbeam,
all these different brands of bread.
And they call it white bread.
But watch this though. And so in every pack of bread, in the beginning of the loaf and at the end of the loaf, they had what you call end pieces. Those were the two pieces that's generally in the front, maybe the two in the back that's starting to be like, pieces that nobody want to eat. And so you generally have to just push those two aside.
Finger those two.
Push those two aside to get the fresh bread, right? So hear me now. I'm going somewhere with this. My daughter gave me this the other day. We call it in bread. And she said her generation is calling it whole bread.
Whole.
Listen to me now. Hear me now.
Oh.
They call it whole bread. I said, what you mean whole bread? She said, whole bread is where, just like you take a loaf of bread, you take the first two pieces and you push them out. You touch them. You move them out the way.
Everybody touching it.
And then everybody touching it. You know where I'm going, don't you? Everybody touching it. Everybody getting it. And then when all the good bread is gone, the only way the whole bread is eaten, the end bread is eaten, and is when there's nothing else left. Now, the moral of the story is simply this. What we were talking about was a lot of times women don't understand that y'all have been pushed aside, you have been touched, played with,
had
access, and you got to realize that when you keep doing that, it makes it hard for a man to commit because he has too many choices.
The whole bread. Y'all ain't gonna never look at
inbred again.
Inbred.
Yeah, whole bread. That girl said whole bread. I said, what?
Whole bread.
Whole bread. Yeah, everybody touch that, before you get to the good bread.
Ooh, Jesus.
So brothers be touching all that stuff till they get to the good bread.
Jesus.
Y'all
gonna be pushing your little shopping cart down the aisle with the bread. Look at it. The whole bread. That's what's it's gonna come back to you. Listen, we got one more question. You want to do this one?
Two more, ain't it?
It's two more? I got this one. We did that one already.
Okay, go ahead.
I got one more. So I got one more question that was sent to us. And if y'all don't have any questions, we're going to call it a wrap because it's almost our time. But this one going to take a minute. I'm going to tell you this one out. Because when it was sent in to us, I was like...
Okay, hold that question.
B-Love said, I strongly disagree. What did she strongly disagree about?
What you disagree with, baby?
B-Love says she strongly disagree about something.
That's good.
Okay.
I'll deal with it. Let me find out what she disagree with. But in the meantime, I need to go back to Brother Marcus. Marcus, you helping me tonight, bro. Marcus, I got to find Marcus' comment. Marcus said, women no longer require me to meet their standards. Women not really knowing their worth.
So Marcus, as a man now, says he ain't got no standards he got to live by because y'all don't really know your worth.
Y'all
so
are
he can just show up. He can just show up because you don't know your worth. Here's a man on with us tonight saying the best version of him does not really have to show up for you because you don't know your worth.
And then Brother James Hudson, man, I appreciate y'all brothers on here helping me tonight. Brother James Hudson said, men feel the same way. We want someone who is genuine.
Yes.
Now, how is it that a man is feeling as if...
Yes. So, ladies, you're hearing from men tonight who are on the chat with us.
I need to bring some of these brothers on my show next week.
Yes. So, here's the thing. A lot of ladies will say, well, there are no good men out there. There are good men out there. You just keep lowering your standards for any old joker that shows up. And so here you're waiting on Prince Charming to show up or the king to show up, but you keep dealing with the jokers that are showing up and you entertaining them. You're the one entertaining help. I'm sorry, you're entertaining company when you need to be holding out for help. And we did a segment on that.
Yeah, I said God never sends company, God sends help.
Right. So you entertaining company, letting them be in your house while you at work. You entertaining company, letting them suck up all your air while you at work.
No.
You entertaining company.
While he's sitting in the car while you pumping gas.
Oh, now that I can't stand. That is one thing I cannot stand. A man sitting there in the car, in the passenger seat while you out there pumping gas in your car. What?
Sister Daphne, I appreciate this. She says, what about the men who don't tell you that they're in a relationship and you fall for the okie doke? Here's the thing now. Men who don't tell you that they're in a relationship. That's why in a relationship, let me back up. When you're dating, you're getting data.
Right, asking the right questions.
Listen to me now. Let me say this real clear for y'all. I want y'all to hear me good on this, ladies. Every relationship will set up patterns. Now, let me elaborate.
Come on now.
Every relationship. Now, back that up. Every time you start dating, there are going to be patterns that are set.
That's right.
And what do I mean by that? I'm glad you asked. I'm about to answer for you. So here's what I mean by that. When you start dating a guy and all of a sudden, y'all talking 2-3 times a day, everything's good. All of a sudden, y'all got a routine for the most part. This is what I'm saying. You got a routine. He calling, he's taking you out, he's doing this, he's doing that. Now here's the thing that I want to be just straight up honest with you about, because as anybody who's been on this show knows that I'm real straight up. If you're saying you're falling for the okie doke, it's because you're not asking the right questions. You can't say you're in a relationship with a man, and or you're dating a man rather, and he's in another relationship, because there's going to be some signs that you're not going to get the kind of time that you want. If I'm in a relationship with somebody else, I have to now split my time between two women. And if I'm telling you that I'm going to be for you, I'm going to be there for you, then quite naturally, there's going to be something that I'm going to slip up somewhere. We slick now. We can be slick. But we ought not be that slick, because that means that you're not asking the right questions.
Did y'all get
And I'm not saying that, whatever, but I'm just saying, go back and watch the segment about questions you need to ask before getting broken heart, or whatever it's called. Because we don't ask those questions. We don't ask the right questions. I said this before, I'm going to say it one more time. Most women have no clue about asking the kind of questions to find out if a man is in a relationship.
Right.
You don't ask the right
Steve
questions.
Harvey even says that constantly on his show. If you listen to Steve Harvey in the morning, he talks about if the question is not asked, you don't give the information. And so here's the thing. If you don't ask the right questions, you won't get the information you need to determine whether or not this is a relationship that you even need to continue with. One of the things I'll never forget, I'll never, ever, ever forget what a woman told me in a session. She said, I've been in this relationship too long. I don't want to leave. I said, what do you mean you've been in it too long? Now, she ain't even married. She in a relationship. She in a 20-something year relationship. She said, if I leave, what am I going to do next? And I said, what do you mean? She said, I don't know what to do if I'm not in this relationship. I said, but you're in a ship by yourself feeling lonely with a man who's in another relationship. All of the time that she spent with this man, he's been in other relationships. So I asked her one simple question: what ship are you in? Because you've been in a relationship with a man who's been in other relationships, even a marriage, and you are calling this a relationship? And she says, I feel like I've wasted my time. You think? But here's the problem. She doesn't value herself enough to know there's more to her if she lets it go. There's more to her if she values who she is better. There's more to her if she walks away, but she doesn't value herself enough to say, I'm better than this. And because she doesn't value herself enough to say, I'm better than this, he keeps treating her like she's the side piece. He keeps treating her like he's the garbage that he eventually is going to take out one day. Because she allowed him, catch this, to put her in the compartment of non-wife for 20 years. And she had a revelation to say, this is not what I want, but I feel like this is all I'm going to get. And so that's what we were talking about earlier, in that he's not going to elevate. As a matter of fact, he went and got married on her. But she's still the side piece. Come on now. And she feels like this is the best I can do.
Let me say again, when we're talking now, I want y'all to hear me good on this. On a serious note, when we're talking, we're speaking in generalities. We're not saying all women are like this. We're not saying all men are like this. I want to make that perfectly clear. We're not saying all women who are on here watching us are like this, but we are saying that majority of women have made it too easy for men. We are saying that the majority of women have made it too easy for men. I want to make that perfectly clear also. But here's the problem. Even though you may not have been one of the ones, you have to suffer the consequences of the ones who did.
You do.
Woo, that sounded good right there.
You do. Unfortunately,
you do.
That's why it's so important for you to know what your wants, needs, and expectations are. Because listen, like this woman, you can't sit there and get into a relationship and 6 months later you're going, why am I still here? And when you add up the minutes and the hours and the days that you've been in this relationship, that could have been minutes, hours, and days that you devoted to yourself to make yourself better, so that the next time a joker shows up, you know to get on the other side of the street and not even give him the time of day. And Brother James hit it again. He said men and women both will misuse one another if they allow it. That's it. A person can't misuse you unless you allow it. A person can't abuse you unless you allow it. That goes for men and women. That's true. Man, I appreciate y'all brothers on here tonight. Y'all helping me out. Y'all showing up. We need to give y'all own segment. Yeah, really. I think we need to give y'all a Sunday night together. Wait. Brother Marcus, man, listen, I need to get you on this show, man. Brother Marcus said, listen to me now. This is the same thing I've been telling y'all ladies now. Listen to me, guys. Listen to me repeat what he just said. Women have the ability to rebirth a man. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think he's saying with that. Is women have the ability to make men stand up to the plate. They do. We do. Ooh, boy. But you got to know yourself first, ladies. You got to know your worth and your value first, ladies. You got to know what you stand for, who you are before that happens. Listen, women were put on this earth to be a helpmeet. And in order to meet somebody else's needs, you got to know yourself first. You got to know what you bring to the table. You got to know your value. You got to stop treating yourself like you a piece of wood, like you a piece of rock, and start treating yourself like the valuable diamond that you are. And until you do that, they don't have a reason to treat you like that. They're not going to treat you like something you don't see in yourself first. Did I say that? Did y'all get that? They're not going to treat you like what you see yourself as. They're going to treat you like what you see yourself as. So if you put up with anything, they're going to treat you like anything. But if you see yourself as something that's valuable, something that is precious, something that deserves the best of them, then you're not going to lower your expectations and your standards. When you see those flags on fire, you're going to know danger, danger, danger. Will Robinson, let's move the other way. You're going to know that already. You're not going to devote 20 years to a man who cheats on you and then gets married on you, and you still don't see your value and your worth. And even with that, you say, this is the best I can do. Heck, I started to say something else. People say all the time I can do bad by myself. You can do good by yourself. You can do real good by yourself.
How I treat you?
Like a diamond.
Oh, Lord.
Listen, our time is up.
You finished the last question?
I did. Oh, we didn't do the last question?
No, we got sidetracked.
We did. Oh, we did. Okay. So, you still want to do this one?
What is it? Oh. No, we got more mature
okay.
More mature people.
All right. Good deal.
So let me just tell you what the question was. The question was, I'm going to at least read the question. I don't want y'all to send the question we don't at least read. I might just touch on it, but it says, what do you think about a man who is still at home living with his mother? What do you think about a man who's still living at home with his mother? Now, I'm one of those people that, to be honest with you, if there's a reason why he's there to help his mom out, then right. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. If he's staying there to save money to buy a house or to do something like that, I'm good with that. But if he's just staying there because he blows his money and all those other things, he got sneakers everywhere. He got a new PlayStation 5.
Okay.
I think you better leave him alone. Pack your bags because that is not the person to be with.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with a man still being at home if he's there to help his mom or he's there to, help her because of her health or something of that nature.
If he ain't got no car and
but if he ain't got no car and he ain't saving for a house or whatever it might be, I'm telling you now, run.
Flag on fire.
Flag on fire.
That's it. Y'all got that?
That's a mama boy.
Because his intent is to move from her house to yours.
And somebody else had added the second part of that question. It says, why do men rarely invite women to their house?
Do they have one? Who they living with? Okay.
Okay, I'm going to say it again. The other part of that question is, why do men rarely invite women to their house?
Who they living with?
Well, I don't, but I guess what they're saying, because most times men go over to the woman's house, and I understand that. And most times, if that's the case where he has his own place, but he never invites you, he might be afraid that the other woman gonna show up.
Huh?
Did I say that?
Out loud.
Because if y'all are serious and committed,
he ain't gotta be worried.
Nothing to worry about.
Right. Who doing a drive-by? And who's seeing your car there?
Listen to me now. When I was young, in my early 20s, and I was dating, and I was in a relationship, I let my girl have my key. Had the key to my apartment. Let me say that again. I was in my early.
I'm blinking. Did y'all get?
I was in my early 20s, 21, 22.
Mm-hmm.
And the young lady that I was in a relationship dating, she had a key to my apartment. I'm young.
Cause he was committed. He was ready. He ain't had nothing to hide. Just saying. A man who's committed, ready, with nothing to hide. Okay. Just saying. Ladies and gentlemen.
So y'all ain't think like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, our time is up.
Ladies and gentlemen, our time is up. Where's my book?
What? Is it on the table? On the table over there. He going to get the book. Like, we weren't prepared with the book. So he's going to get. Did y'all enjoy tonight's session? Let me see some love.
If y'all enjoy, show some love. Listen,
yeah.
For those of you who are on for the first time, second
the dudes.
time.
No. Don't give it to the ladies. I want the dudes to have your book tonight. They showed up.
There's a lot of brothers on here.
Yeah, the brothers showed up.
I got a lot of brothers on here, though.
Okay, but
I can't give all the brothers a book.
Okay, pick 3 and give them a book. Yes, I want the brothers. I want y'all to be blessed tonight.
Hey, listen, I wrote a book. The book is titled, If It's Love, It Will Last. If It's Love, It Will Last. Let me just give you a few of the chapter titles for those who are watching us for the first and second time. Again, my name is Lawrence Knighton. I am a pastor. I'm just a real pastor. What I mean by that is I keep it genuine. I keep it, authentic. I keep
Somebody
it real.
say they're waiting on their book.
I keep it transparent. If you're reading on your book, I have to apologize for those who did get it last week.
Sylvester?
Yeah, I have to apologize because I was out of town with my brother who's dealing with cancer. And so I promise you I'll get it in the mail tomorrow.
Okay.
But I think I sent Daphne's the other week, though.
Daphne says she's still waiting on it. Okay,
but either way, I'll make sure you get it. But let me just say this, that I wrote a book called If It's Love, It Will Last. Yep. And the book is really a blessing. The book titles, some of the titles in the book are What is
Shirley
Love?
Winters.
Why men have not learned to love, a woman's expectations. Are you carrying excess baggage? Here's my heart. If it don't fit, don't force it. Denial is not a river in Egypt. What does God say?
Yep.
It's another good chapter in there.
Denial is not a river.
I already said that one, yeah. But anyway, that's the book. The book is only $10. The book is $10. Go to myrelationshipmovement.com. Myrelationshipmovement.com. Order the book. Myrelationshipmovement.com. You can order the book for Marcus, James, And one more, brother, I'm going to send y'all a book. Y'all inbox me your address. If you don't have my book, I'm going to send it to you. Autographed copy.
Vicky says, can she get the book?
Go to myrelationshipmovement.com. Or you can inbox me, and I'll send you my Cash App or however you want to do it, and I'll mail the book out tomorrow. I'm definitely going to the post office tomorrow. I've just been dealing with my brother in Atlanta with cancer, so cancer. Yeah. I just haven't had a chance. Last week I was really extremely busy. But I want to make sure those who want to get the book is only $10. It costs me $2.80 to mail it to you. So I ain't making no money off the book. I'm just trying to bless some people. But I need James Hudson and Marcus. I need y'all, and one more brother. There's another brother on here. I need y'all to inbox me your address. I want to send y'all a book. Maybe it'll help us to be better men. We already are better men. I can tell what y'all comments that we've been out there.
And I appreciate, I really appreciate those of you who are saying, as he's talking about book, that you got the book and you love the book and it's the best $10 you ever invested. Rachel Swan, thank you. It was another lady who said, Mickey Shingles, hey Mickey! And some other ladies who said they got the book, and we just appreciate you guys for investing in yourself. That's the thing. We're asking for a $10 investment in yourself. This is you. There are other books out there. Listen, there are other books out there that you can buy that are more than this, but don't have the substance that this has, the transparency that this book has. It doesn't have the real, raw, and relevant information that's in this book, and it's only $10.
Okay, so, Marcus said he's still waiting on his, so you might be one of the ones from last week that I did not send out. And again, I'm apologizing because I've been in Atlanta most of the week, and I just didn't. My mind just wasn't on those books right then. And so I apologize. Yeah, I'm sure if he. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure I'll have his address.
All right.
But I want to make sure that I send those books out tomorrow for sure.
Good deal. So that's it, guys. It's a wrap.
Appreciate y'all listening. If y'all loved it, y'all had some got some information tonight. Y'all show some love one more time. Yeah, one more again. Show some love before we get out of here.
We love you guys. We love y'all. One person said we love you. We love y'all too. That's why we keep coming.
Thank y'all for saying you're gonna pray for my brother. He is having a challenge. He's got a different type of cancer. But
God is able.
Neuroendocrine. So y'all who are in the medical profession, there's another cancer out called Neuro, endocrine, ENDOCRINE. Yeah, he has neuroendocrine. It's a different type of cancer, very aggressive. And so Cancer Treatment Center of America is the place to be. If you know anybody that has cancer, get them up there. Appreciate y'all. Y'all take care. Y'all be blessed. Bye.